So the 5-month-long war in Ukraine has put a lot of things to test, one of which is the unity amongst the European nations. But what are the reasons behind this division in Europe? Let's take a look at it one by one. Firstly, the gas turbine blame game. An enormous gas turbine has been sitting in Cologne in Germany for several days now, when it should have been ferried over to Finland and on to Russia to begin the vital gas supplies through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline into the European Union. But the delivery is still pending due to Western sanctions. If it doesn't arrive before Monday to replace the worn-out part, then things could, of course, get extremely hard for Europe. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that flows through the undersea gas link will drop once again. And although the pipeline runs from Russia to Germany, the effect will damage all of Europe. Now, Brussels reckons that if Russia's gas deliveries are shut off, then it could hit the bloc's economy by about 1.5%. Now, over the past month, the German Economic Affairs Minister has expended considerable political capital convincing Canada to send the turbine back from a maintenance facility in Montreal as a one-time exception to the sanctions on Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. And Kiev, as expected, is furious with this decision. But since landing on German soil earlier this week, the turbine hasn't journeyed onward. But whose fault is it? Germany, Russia or Canada? The Gazprom, the Russian state-backed company waiting to receive the repaired component, claims the issue is a lack of paperwork, proving that the turbine can be moved without sanctions. Now, Germany has dismissed Russia's argument that the missing turbine is the reason for the lower supplies via the Nord Stream 1 and has accused Moscow of using gas flows as a political weapon. Now, the question of Europe's division over Russia is not just related to the turbine, but also gas and the EU's treatment of Russia. Now, countries like Hungary have already taken a step back from EU's perspective over Russia. One of the prime reasons for it is that Hungary is heavily dependent on Russian gas. So let's take a look at the different European nations and where they stand over Russian gas. The countries including Poland and Hungary, however, have already expressed their resistance to the proposal, entailing immediate gas rationing. And Hungary, remember, is already in talks independently with Russia about redirecting all of its gas shipments. Russia will consider a request from Hungary to buy more gas, and according to Hungary's foreign minister, the country needs a further 700 million cubic meters of the gas on top of the existing supply deal, and it will not be possible to buy that much without Russian sources. Now, Spain, like many other European nations, is also experiencing energy crisis, and this week the Spanish energy minister made it public that the government will not order consumers to limit their gas use. The West is trying to portray that it wants to make Moscow pay by slapping stringent sanctions, and amongst them is curtailing the energy imports from Russia. But domestic compulsions are forcing some European nations to take a different route. Italy has now decided to instead increase its crude oil imports. The EU oil boycott is now putting at risk one of Italy's largest refineries in Sicily. The leaders of the three founding members of the European Union, Italy, France and Germany, are reluctant to admit that the fact that Europe is at war with Russia, as several countries are delivering weapon systems to Ukraine, and even the EU as an institution is doing so. And yet President Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and former Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi had preferred to see Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine as a crisis of relations with Moscow that could one day be repaired. Now, with the European nations getting divided over gas and energy essentials, Germany, which is heavily dependent on Russian gas, is leading the charge with a nationwide campaign to save gas. The German city of Augsburg this year is quite dark. The exterior of the historic buildings are not illuminated and street lights are dimmed and most of the fountains are not operating. Now, Augsburg is amongst many cities around Germany to have rolled out a raft of energy savings measures since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. With this, the Ukraine war also faces some new diplomatic problems because with the winter on the verge of an energy crisis could provide an upper hand for Russia if there's a possibility of peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in the near future. And I earlier spoke with energy analyst Wojciech Jakubik, who joined me live from Warsaw, and this is what he had to say.
To some extent, of course, Europe can face Russia with common approach because the dependence on Russian gas decreased from 40% in 2021 to only 20% in June 2022. There were more American LNG supplies to Europe than from Russian piped gas this June. So there is a change, but still the dependence is there. According to International Monetary Fund, the decrease of GDP growth because of possible total gas cutoff from Russia could be from 6% in Hungary, mentioned in your material, to maybe 1% in countries that are better prepared, like Poland. But in general, the effect would be negative, and we already can feel it because Russia is limiting the gas supplies already.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.